Congress to balance its books every year. It fell one vote short in the Senate in the late 90s, and it hasn't been brought up again. The Tea Party folks have attempted to make this part of budget negotiations, whether it be on the increase of the debt ceiling or passing a budget for the United States to keep the government running, because this debt is going to crush, if not this generation, but certainly the next and future generations. We're $17 trillion in the hole just to get back to even, just to have nothing. And this is serious, very serious stuff here. And it's being the future, the bounty that this generation and future generation and past generations has worked for to provide for future generations is being totally and completely misappropriated and spent by the elected leaders in the United States Congress. And by being able to spend this amount of debt, they're keeping programs afloat for personal political reasons like Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. I'm not suggesting an abolition of those programs. I'm suggesting that they can't even be reformed because we continue to deficit spend and debt spend and borrow to keep them going. Now, that's a kind of a simplistic view, a very focused point on each of that could take hours to discuss. But this is one of the issues where the Congress of the United States has been incapable of addressing or negligent in addressing. And there are many folks out there who feel, well, if Congress isn't going to do its job, then we're going to petition through Article 5 to call a convention and amend the Constitution through that mode. Now, it's important to note that the detractors of the Article 5 convention fear that once this thing is called, then the delegates assembled will begin to take up other issues and could potentially make suggested amendments that would be contrary to where we would stand, for example, as conservatives. One such fear is abortion could be brought into the discussion. I certainly understand the hesitancy to invoke an Article 5 convention process. It hasn't been done before. It would be uncharted territory. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the nullification alternative. And what I would say to the people out there that are fearful of this runaway convention, the states are capable of passing resolutions calling for this convention and containing within those resolutions the desire that a particular issue be brought up. And that if other issues are brought up, that state's delegates will be recalled or prevented from voting on anything other than what's called upon in a resolution to Congress calling for this Article 5 convention. Now, this is very simple. And right now there's a movement out there to call an Article 5 convention for the purposes of discussing a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution to get government back within its means. And it seems to me that this is a far more desirable approach than states nullifying laws. And we'll continue this debate. But I wanted to get that out there and get the discussion going on this important issue because, we're talking about defunding Obamacare. Well, the disaster that's going to be Obamacare could be addressed by the states, but not through nullification. I would contend that we could call a constitutional convention through Article 5, banning through, if it's ratified by, and that's the important point I don't want to step over here, is that the convention that would be called would serve the purpose of the Congress. they would propose amendments that would then go back to the states and still require 3/4 of the states, whether through their legislatures or through a convention held within the state, to ratify that to the Constitution. So the idea that this Article 5 convention could pass anything they want is a bit far reach, and it's just inaccurate that those things that were passed would be a part of the Constitution without a vote of the state legislatures. Now, if you think there's 36 states that would vote to make abortion legal in the United States, then maybe you've got something to worry about. But I would say that you're probably being a bit paranoid there. So in any event, we could have a constitutional convention that would, through Article 5, because, Harry Reid in the Senate would never let anything like this get through, that would ban nationally sanctioned health care, Obamacare. The federal government of the United States would be prohibited from participating in health insurance, national health insurance, being involved in health care at all. Now, wouldn't that be interesting? Ladies and gentlemen, we get frustrated. We see things happening around us that we feel isn't right. But knowing what the Constitution provides to us, knowing that the rights that we have is the most powerful defense against liberal tyranny that we have out there. And being organized through these kinds of grassroots networks, social media, is a surefire way to beat them back. And that's where we're at. Take our final break here. You're listening to the Conservative Underground. I am Doc White. We'll be right back.
In tough economic times, even a trip to the grocery store means balancing healthy family meals with the need to keep expenses down. For a healthy, balanced diet, you need a good mixture of protein, carbohydrates, veggies, and whole grains. Keeping your costs low means cutting back on restaurant food and most prepared food in grocery stores. A whole chicken goes for only about $2 a pound. A pound of beans will set you back a whole $1.50. Potatoes! Look at these complex carbs at 89 cents a pound. What this means is cooking. Bust out those cookbooks. And remember, the best part of home cooking is the leftovers. Don't ignore packaged foods entirely. You can find great deals on items like albacore tuna and bristling sardines, which are not only cheap, but a great source of protein and essential fatty acids. Visit cheapcooking.com or sardinediet.com.
Hey, Sam. Hey, back from the Denise Decathlon, huh? Got another gold medal in the broad jump?
Yeah, you got a big mouth, Clayton.
Hey, happens to be right, Yeah, it's a genetic quirk in the Clavin family that we all have 2 extra teeth. You see, that's the only way that we can prove that we are the rightful heirs to the Russian throne.
Hello in there, Cliff. Tell me, what color is the sky in your world?
You're listening to the Conservative Underground. Doc White here. We'll be right back. Final segment of the show coming up.
If a fire breaks out in your home while you're asleep, how will you know? Smoke and heat build quickly, making every second count. A working smoke alarm can alert you to the danger and make the difference between life and death. Install and maintain a smoke alarm on every level of your home. Replace the battery every year. This message is brought to you by the United States Fire Administration, your local fire department, and this radio station.
What if we got rewarded for every good decision?
Dinner. Meal needs a vegetable. Check.
Amazing!
Vegetables cooked with a healthier oil instead of butter?
Fantastic!
Replacing bad fats with healthier fats like those in canola or vegetable oil is good for your heart. Take up the challenge for good health because the you of the future will say,
Fantastic!
Visit heart.org/face the fats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Conservative Underground. Doc Wise here. The last thing I have on my plate here that I want to talk about, and this is sort of more of a just like a warning. There is going to be a massive attempt by the left starting yesterday to flood our media over this general topic of income inequality. Now, it's been no secret that the left has been trumpeting this idea that they are the champions of the great middle class in the United States. We heard a lot of that in 2012. And in some respects, it worked for them. They're going to pivot back to that for 2014 because of the midterm elections, and they think that this narrative works for them. But also, they're doing this, in my view, because we still have Benghazi out there. That's not going to go away. That's the terrorist attack that occurred in Benghazi, Libya, on the anniversary of 9/11, where 4 Americans were killed, and an ambassador among them, and the Obama administration tried to blame some obscure YouTube video as an incendiary device in promoting this terrorist attack, when in fact it was a premeditated orchestrated attack by Al-Qaeda affiliated groups that this government knew was a real possibility, but yet chose to punt on doing anything about it because we were trying to get Barack Obama reelected, and he was trying to make the case that he had Al-Qaeda on the run. So we couldn't allow, in the middle of an election, for a terrorist attack to occur and jeopardize that narrative. And there's a whole bunch of other sorts of key points in all of this that I don't have time to get into now, but Hillary Clinton is at the center of this. And it's clear that she was aware of the dangers, and she did nothing about it. So no one has really had to answer for this, and it's out there. It's real. And we also have this Obamacare rollout that's been a disaster. And not only is the website a disaster, but the law itself is really crimping the styles of a lot of people in the United States in terms of their health care. And there are people that have made it through the Obamacare healthcare.gov website, and they think they have health insurance, and they don't have health insurance because their information hasn't been processed by the insurance companies yet. Wait till that hits. There's been reports now that there's folks that have been in the emergency room and went in for treatment, claimed that they had health care, and were told, you don't have health care. And one guy was waiting around to be treated, got so anxious and so worked up because he didn't have health insurance when he thought he did, that he had a heart attack. People are walking out of the emergency rooms. So this is something that the Democrats cannot afford to have on the front burner for a conversation. So they're going to pivot to income inequality, minimum wage, and amnesty. And we have to be ready for that.
After the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.
Now that's all the time that we have for this broadcast, but I bring that up because this whole income inequality thing, they're going to blame the richest 1% for all of our problems. The amount of money that the 1% make at the top has no bearing on how the bottom 20 can get up out of their problems. We'll be right back.